Regressive supply, exception supply, or regression supply, or as exception supply. What you need to understand, what is regressive supply? This is an exception supply where the quantity supply decreases over a certain period when the price is higher at a specific. Example is the supply of labor, whereby rising wages may result to increase in absenteeism from the work because workers at a certain point in time prefer leisure after long hours of working. You may ask yourself, is it possible now for the supply to decrease even if the price is higher? The answer is yes. And actually, this is there are several factors that diverge or violate out the law of the supply. And a simple case example is that if the workers, when workers are actually paid the high amount of wages, sometimes may be lazy in working, and sometimes they may also take time to spend on leisure and the other activities rather than working because their sufficient income is to enjoy and not working again. So for that case, when you try to demonstrate the graph showing this kind of perspective, is that let's assume we have in the left hand side we have wages, and at the x-axis we have the hours of labor. So we want to demonstrate on how when you pay more wages for workers, how they left working and go to leisure, and actually the absenteeism affects the working place of a given area. So since let's assume we have the wage 2, we have the wage 2, wage 1, and wage 3. And we have the level of output, that is Q1 to Q2. So when you try to sketch out the graph, let's assume there is an NS shifting movement of wages from wage 2 to wage 1, or from wage 1 to wage 3. So at a higher level of wages, that is wage 3, we observe to see the hours of labor. The Q1 and Q2 represent of the hours of labors. So the Q1 represent of the hours of the hours of working. We actually call it the working hours of labors. Is to be low, and the Q2 represent out the long working hours of labors. So if you pay a laborers a maximum wage, the highest wage at level of W3 from W2 and going extent above to W3, the hours, most of the workers reduces the hours of working and go to spend. So the hours of working of laborers will be reduced from Q2 to Q1. But when you pay the lower wages, for the most of the employees, you'll observe to see that most of the workers spend their time on working. So the hours of labors will be increasing from Q1 to Q2. So we have the certain movement shift of the equilibrium, showing the time that most of the laborers spends on working than taking leisure. So we have the maximum time that they spend, starting pointed from the point C and point B as well. So from this figure above, from point A to point B, the quantity of labor supplied increases as wages increases. So point A and point B represent out number of workers who increases in the working place because of the wages that it is more attractive to them. So from point B to point C, the labor supply starts to decrease when workers are not willing to work long hours, even at a higher level of wages of W3. So therefore now, the regressive supply curve is a part of the supply curve from point B to point C. So most of the labor start to reducing hours of working from point B to point C because they are paid sufficient income in one way or another that influence them to take time to spend than working. But there is a minimum amount where even if you pay more wages for the workers, they will not devote themselves working for long hours because they have activities to do to perform with what the income that they have. So that is how